Okay, now we're going to be treated with a real, one of the real success stories in decarbonization. And I'd like to call Han, Cam, and Chase up to the stage. Han, you got to explain your song. Is it on? I think they're on. Sometimes they get turned off.
Hi, everyone. So this song I chose is from Trial. I think is the movie Trial. It's very futuristic. The name of the song has the game changed. So I think that suits our panel discussion very well. Good to see you, everyone. My name is Han Deng. I'm a partner in Reed Smith in New York. So today we are looking at one of the most significant real-world advances in maritime decarbonization. So the first ever installation of a centrifugal onboard carbon capture system on a commercial vessel. So the pilot brings together Scorpio tankers, a global leader in product tankers, and Carbon Ridge, a climate tech company developing compact modular CO2 capture system designed specifically for ships. So the system was installed in July this year on the vessel SPI Spica, as shown here, this beautiful vessel, marking a major step in testing whether this system can work at scale in real operating conditions. So joining us today, Chase Dwyer, CEO of Carbon Ridge, and Cameron Mackey, COO of Scorpio Tankers. With that, let's get started. My first question, of course, comes to how this partnership started. So how did this collaboration between Scorpio and Carbon Ridge come about? And what problem were you each trying to solve with this pilot?
This working? Yeah. Thank you, and thanks everyone for having us. When we started the company back in 2021, we knew that we needed to develop a technology that would actually go on ships. And then we were looking for a first partner to help us go and basically install the technology and test it at pilot scale. So Cam and I met through a connection a number of years ago. Kind of went through a number of different feasibility looking at it. And I think right place and the right time kind of decided they'd be both beneficial for us and Scorpio to look at how our technology would fit on board a tanker. And that was kind of the genesis, is a right place and the right timing for both of us, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, I'd just say, this pilot ticks a lot of boxes for us. Since COVID, we have certain, call it operating principles. Stay humble, stay curious, be thrifty, and be hustling. And the second thing I would say is, in general, people don't get change wrong. They get the timing wrong. So I don't think you'll find a lot of people here who argue or take issue with the broad change of carbon pricing. The timing and the right time for right investment decisions is wide open, and there is a lot of capital sitting out there right now being destroyed because the timing's not right. So again, this partnership sprung out of a right place, the right time, where Carbon Ridge hit all the right notes for us in undertaking this pilot and talking about where it might go in the future.
Thank you both for the context. And then my next question is, why OCCS for tankers?
Sure. So number one is it may not be the right solution for Scorpio tankers today. That's different than saying the pilot is the right thing for us today. What we're looking at is a future where, sure, ferries, short sea, regional trade, liners, and sure, even tankers that are on predictable trading patterns, this could be attractive in the immediate future or the very near term. We, of course, are somewhat addicted to the spot market, tramp trade. Not a logical solution for us now, but again, we're taking a long view. I think a big mistake is to superimpose our view of today into the future, 5 or 10 years from now. And so we take a much more, let's call it agnostic view, that there are all sorts of changes that we're going to be faced with and have to understand and digest, and may make sense for Scorpio tankers before any of us thinks.
Yeah, and I think from a technology perspective, what I'd say is the reason why we started Carbon Ridge and focusing on carbon capture was that you have kind of two fundamental issues with the alternative fuel landscape. Is you have the energy density issue, which is kind of unsolvable in a way, that you have 50% the energy density of ammonia and methanol as diesel or fuel oil. And then you also have the pricing, which if you look at China today for e-methanol, the pricing is about $2,000 per ton minimum for e-methanol. So the way that we look at it is that if you can deliver a solution that's half of that price, which we believe is conservative, it allows you to comply with these markets and doesn't require propulsion switches, et cetera. So fundamentally, we think it just makes business sense where you have this kind of stick of regulation in the market that, as Cam said, it's developing. We view it as a long game. The reason why we're doing this pilot now is we wanted essentially to start small, go show the technology can work on board the vessel on an end-to-end basis, and then when the market is ready, we'll be there to scale.
Thank you. My next question is for Chase. As a lawyer, my question is, what makes this OCCS system different from the conventional system?
Yeah, I think really simply, when we started the company, we were kind of working off of a few basic design theses. A, we asked owners, what are the biggest challenges of implementing technology on board vessels? And the answer was, don't take up too much space, don't make the tech burn a lot more fuel, and make it easy to install. And so we found that centrifuges can enable a reduction in the size of the carbon capture equipment. The process works exactly the same. It's just about 75% smaller and spins at about 400 RPMs. It also reduces the energy consumption of regenerating the CO2 and the solvent on board. And because they're smaller, they're able to be more modular. And so it allows us to prefabricate the units, bring them into the dry dock or the new build, and install them very quickly. And so this installation we did, the modules themselves only took about 4 hours to install. And then the integration happened through the duration of the dry dock with all the piping, et cetera. But it allows for this kind of quick, smaller scale and energy efficient integration. And those are really the KPIs that we're focused on. So that's the differentiator versus large columns that take up a lot of space.
Yeah, I'm looking at this photo. So what's the size? Like, is like a container or like two container size?
Yeah, I mean, so everything in terms of the carbon capture process fits into those two 40-foot containers. The way to think about that is that if we were to scale this up to a full-scale system on this vessel that provides full compliance, the modules might be kind of double in volume, but it's about the same size and volume as the scrubber that's on the vessel today. But it has kind of all those different components, sulfur treatment, CO2 capture, regeneration, compression, liquefaction, kind of all combined into it. So the only way we're able to do that is because the contactors we use to capture CO2, sulfur, are basically smaller in size.
Yeah, very interesting. So then, how about the performance, operations, and net emissions, which has early performance shown, such as capture rates, energy use, crew adaptation, and does this translate into a clear well-to-wake emission reductions once you factor in the energy penalty and the offloading logistics?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can speak to the performance and the base. So so far, what's been really exciting is that we've been able to see both on the CO2 capture and the sulfur removal that we've been able to remove effectively all of the CO2 and the sulfur, 99% plus of the gas that we're bringing in. So it shows that our centrifuges are very highly effective at removing both those pollutants. In terms of the pilot size, the pilot's only taking kind of a small percentage point of the total flue gas of the vessel. So it's probably too early to say in terms of the net change in the vessel's emissions and the energy penalty. But based on what we're seeing, what we expect is, the energy numbers have been consistent with what we've been expecting in terms of reductions compared to conventional systems. Cam, maybe you can talk to the crew adaptation, et cetera.
Case studies. If you think in your mind back to water ballast treatment systems or scrubbers, or even some of the emails you're getting now about alternative energies or efficiency measures on ships, they all claim that they have, or they require minimum intervention by crew. They all claim that they're robust. They all claim that they're easy to install. I think anybody in this room looking back at those case studies can say, well, that was a hook, get us on the hook. So one of the things we're delighted about this system that we found so far is, indeed, it will not require a lot of crew intervention. Indeed, it is resilient. And by the way, unlike those painful case studies with scrubbers and water ballast treatment systems, it's a much more modular installation process. It is an open heart surgery on your ship. And so all these things add up in a very nice way that I think bodes well for the company.
Yeah, and I think just to add to it, all equipment you put on a vessel is going to have some type of effect, right? And I think what we're trying to make sure of is that we're working with the Scorpio crew to understand what's the best way to build this in the future so that it's the least invasive for the vessel and it works kind of as integrated to the vessel system. So a lot of this pilot, the purpose of it is to learn and understand, what went very well, what kind of things do we have to change for the future. And I think, so far we've been excited about what we've seen.
Yeah, thank you. And then on the regulation side, how do you see the onboard carbon capture fitting into the EU ETS, Fuel EU, and the future IMO rules?
Yeah, I mean, I think at high level, the understanding that carbon capture is going to be part of portfolio, I think, is a not to be even really needs to be debated about anymore. So it's under discussion with the IMO regulation. It's already incorporated into the ETS regulation, and Fuel EU is really following the IMO guidelines. Now, if IMO considerably slows down, there's a lot of discussion about kind of fast tracking the Fuel EU. But I think to be very clear with everyone, for Fuel EU and ETS, as well as the logistics and the sequestration, which is kind of the big what's going on there question mark with everyone, we really see that taking off and being available and commercially feasible in 2029, 2030. And so, with the regulations, a lot of that work is going to be done before then, from our expectation.
I'll go one step further. Or at least I believe the time of maximum relevance of the IMO is in the past. And that doesn't address the importance of climate change or climate-based regulations. But what it does mean is that we should expect a much more varied and uneven approach to regulation and enforcement like we've had before. So the idea of balkanized regulations. I think certain parts of the world given their fiscal condition, will love the idea of taxing ships and ship owners as a sort of hidden source of revenue. And so we are expecting Fuel EU and EU ETS to be the beginning of a mosaic of different regulations into which this fits quite nicely. So even given what I said before about tramp trading ships, everybody talks about cold ironing as a wonderful panacea for ships in port. There's no cold ironing for tankers. But you could foresee a scenario where certain ports say we don't want any emissions, or we want reduced CO2, or we're going to penalize you for CO2 emissions while you're alongside. That's the type of world we are thinking about and the world into which the system fits.
Thank you. And since this is just a pilot, and what are the next concrete steps? Are you preparing for additional vessels or waiting for more operational data before moving toward the broader rollout?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can say from our perspective with Scorpio, I think the pilot's still ongoing. We're in the phase of generating results and kind of continuing operations, seeing what it's like in different operational modes. So I think to be continued there. And Scorpio and Carbon Ridge are going to continue to collaborate, I think, in understanding what's the best solution for us and their fleet. And Cam can talk more about that. I think from a broader perspective, we see pretty widespread interest in carbon capture globally, whether it's in the European markets, in Asia, et cetera. So we're working with a number of groups of analyzing where's the best fit in the interim based on the regulatory environment, based on the logistics and the storage for CO2. So that's really what we're focused on, is first deployments in those markets that make sense.
Agree. It's not our business to say, but obviously any new technology has a cost curve they have to worry about. They have infrastructure they have to worry about. In addition, you're talking about an owner that's usually deadweight constrained. So we don't want to be carrying around carbon instead of cargo. However, like I said, there are many use cases in which we could foresee our collaboration continuing, whether it's long ballast legs, certain customers, certain trades, or helping them in different segments, by the way. So I think the future looks pretty good.
Yeah. Another question about the future. So where will the OCCS be in the future fuel mix? Is it going to be a bridge, a complement, or a long-term tool, just as methanol, ammonia, or e-fuel? And how do you respond to the critics who call OCCS like a transition fig leaf?
I'm a transition. I'm not going to live for another 50 years. So let's get pragmatic about what we mean by transition. If it takes us out 10, 15 years, fantastic. So I think we have to be really grounded in the timeline. As I said before, people don't get change wrong, they get the timing wrong. So I think we've seen that things like ammonia and methanol may have a place. We think that nuclear has a place. But we have to be right about the timing. And so right now, I think this is a pragmatic and easy step for ship owners to take in certain conditions with a certain outlook on the trajectory of carbon pricing that works really well for the lifespan of the unit.
Yeah, I think 3 points to cap that off. I haven't seen a single study from DNV or any economist that says that they think fossil fuels are going to be phased out anytime in probably my lifetime. So I think that's one piece, is there will always be a case where this is needed as long as decarbonization also continues. I think there's no silver bullet. There's trades globally where ammonia can make sense. There's trades where it doesn't, and geographies. So I think that's the other piece. And I think it's also going to be a portfolio solution across vessels where, you might have a combination of LNG plus carbon capture, for instance. So I think, there's no case where none of this doesn't happen. I think it's a combination of a number of things that end up being the ultimate solution.
Well, thank you. Thank you both for your insights. And I see now our time is up. And for the audience, if you have any questions, you know where to find them. Okay, thank you.